And of course, Damian Farrell from Damian Farrell Design Group, and it's Damian on Design each week on the Lucy Ann Lance Show, featuring Dean Erskine as well. Our producer is Elise Shea, our webmaster, Jacob Bodner, and you are listening to 1290 WLBY. Welcome back, Damian.
Thank you very much. We're closing in on our 100th show. Did you know that?
No, I had no idea. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Wow.
One other quick stat. I counted up our YouTube hits. Over 600 viewings.
Oh, all right.
All right. We're headed there. We're going for 1,000.
And I think I may have been 500. I don't know. Kidding. Today we take a look at the movies, and our favorite is the Michigan Theater, of course. And what it's been doing, it's not just a place that shows movies.
It's not.
Russ Collins, who heads up our Michigan Theater here, has done an incredible job with the outreach and making the Michigan Theater relevant in such a grander scale than anyone could have ever imagined, I think, back when that movie house was first saved.
31 years now, Russ.
That's right. It's been quite a while, for sure.
Nice to have you on the show. Hey,
Well, it's great to be here.
congratulations on a couple of fronts. First of all, the solar panels that are now going to be powering the marquee for the Michigan Theater.
Right.
Why did that end up being controversial?
Well, I don't know that it's controversial, but there are certain people in our town who like to complain about everything. So.
Really?
But, a few years ago, we were approached by the Clean Energy Coalition about doing essentially a demonstration project for solar panels. And so we said, well, sure, and but you know, the cost benefit of it and just the sheer dollars in, dollars out of what you can get back in a reasonable amount of time isn't that great. So we said, well, we'll contribute, you know, a certain amount of money that we felt like we could get back in 10 years in terms of credits on our electric bill. And then they did community fundraising for the rest, they being the Clean Energy Coalition, and so it all came together this year when the solar panels were installed. And it's a test kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So they're a relative. Our roof isn't completely covered with solar panels, but we have enough out there that capture enough sunlight on average and feeds back into the Detroit Edison electrical grid enough energy to roughly run the marquee every day. So, you know, that was a nice little balance piece that we're capturing this, and then our big advertising sign is paid for with the solar energy that we put back.
When will you realize savings on this?
Well, I mean, we'll realize savings with it right now.
Right now, it starts right away.
So that because essentially what it does is it turns your electrical meter backwards.
And in comparison to what you paid out for it, though.
Correct. It's about a 10-year payback.
Okay.
In terms of getting the full investment back, but that's pretty reasonable for any kind of capital investment.
What about the brightness of it, though?
The brightness
of the marquee now, is it the same with the LED lights and the solar?
LED lights are actually coming later.
Oh, they are.
And so LED is a technology that's very, very exciting, but it's still relatively young.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be fine, and probably within a year, within a few months, we'll have LEDs on what's known as the blade marquee, the vertical marquee that says Michigan.
Oh, okay.
And they're much, much, much more efficient than incandescent bulbs, but they run off of a 12-volt DC power. So what has to happen is each bulb has a little transformer in it that transforms the electricity from 110 alternating current to 12-volt direct current. This is all very technical.
No, actually, it's interesting.
And so consequently, the thing that tends to fail on LED bulbs is the transformer.
Right.
And then, as with any light bulb, they get dimmer as time goes on. But these bulbs should last about 10 years when we get them installed. And obviously they're much more expensive than your regular incandescent bulb, but over the 10-year period it's a rather huge savings in electricity.
So does this have to do with the solar then, or no?
Well, the solar is capturing sunlight and turning it into electricity, and then the marquee uses the electricity.
Regardless of the bulbs that are in there?
Regardless of the
Okay.
bulbs,
All right.
yeah. It's just like when you plug a lamp into the wall, you can have an incandescent bulb, you can have a compact fluorescent, you can have an LED bulb, you can have a halogen bulb, whatever, and each of them consume different levels of energy.
From a design standpoint, early on, those LEDs I was not a fan of. I did not like the light it emitted. But
that's been the biggest issue with LEDs, I think, has been the inability to control the temperature, the color, in other words, what they call the Kelvin, the degrees Kelvin, the warmth of the light. They're getting better, and that's why it still is in its infancy. It's not consistent, and but it's much more efficient. With incandescent, you're creating a tremendous amount of heat. I think the number's about 90% heat and 10% light, because you're having to fire that thing up, that filament up.
But the same thing was true of incandescent bulbs when they first came out.
Exactly. So
there was no sense of color control. No. I mean, they were just happy to get something to light up.
and now we can control fluorescent lighting by color as well, through color and its warmth and so on. So no, it's coming.
Plus, incandescent bulbs are actually the wrong color. They're not blue enough. And it's just that we're used to them at this point. And the other thing is we're talking about an advertising sign. We're not talking about interior lighting that affects how people's complexions look. And that's really where people have complaints, is they come in and the thing's greener or yellower or bluer than they want it to be. So the way that the colors on your clothes and the colors of your face and the colors that you're used to are changed slightly. But that's true. That's true all the way around. So.
Well, actually, though, those LEDs in downtown, I hated them when they first appeared because it was too blue. It wasn't that warm feel you get normally, but they really have started to improve with those. So, but back to my question, is the sign going to look the same? Is it going to be the same intensity, same brightness?
The only thing one can count on in life is change.
What a way to put it.
A few other things.
What does that mean, Russ?
Well, nothing is exactly the same, but I don't think exactly the same is the point. The point is we got an advertising sign where you want a certain amount of lumens that are projected by the bulb.
Will it be less bright?
It shouldn't be less bright at all, because lumens is the amount of output that there is in terms of light. And the other thing is that bulbs chase, and there's all kinds of things. So again, you're talking about an advertising sign. You're not talking about interior lighting. So the color temperature of the bulb, in a sense, doesn't matter as much.
That's our beloved Michigan Theater advertising sign.
I know.
So anyway,
greatest piece of sign design.
It's pretty cool.
That dates back to what?
Dates back to 2000.
The sign.
Yes.
Oh.
It's a recreation of what was there in 1928.
I had forgotten that.
Yeah.
What happened to the original?
It was, don't really know, but the best legend is it was dedicated to the war effort in the 40s.
Really?
Well, it got recycled. That's good.
That's right.
It's on the wing of a B-52 somewhere.
So did they have was there no sign after that?
No, the blade, the vertical Michigan sign, the blade marquee, was part of the original 1920s design. And actually the marquee, then the text marquee that changed with the movies was actually has been changed many times over the history of the theater. The original sign, which looks similar, it's not the same as the sign that we have now, but a similar kind of look was changed almost immediately. It was repainted, and then in the 1940s there was a different skin put on it, and in the 1950s a completely different marquee was put up, and then the vertical marquee was taken down in the 1940s. So that vertical Michigan sign was there from 1928 to sometime in the 1940s.
I never knew that about with all the preservation that has gone on with the Michigan Theater, which is why we love it, I hadn't realized the outside had changed so much.
The outside's changed tremendously. In fact, the whole exterior and outer lobby was remodeled to a 1950s appearance. And when we changed that, there were people that complained that they wanted it to be like the good old marquee that they were used to, which wasn't the original marquee. And so most people are very happy with the 20s look, which is actually much more authentic to the stone masonry terracotta architecture that I'm sure Damian can speak to this more of the original. The blade marquee also works to draw your eye up. With removing the blade marquee, because when we first were restoring the facade, we actually didn't have enough money to buy the blade marquee, so we just made the copy marquee. But what happens is the blade marquee draws your eye up to the top of the building so that you experience the whole, 2.5 stories
Whole facade
of
Yeah.
the Michigan Theater
Highlights
facade.
it all, yeah.
Isn't it amazing how design can play into
I
that?
know,
Can
yeah.
trick the eye.
Is this what we call a sign of the times? So let's talk about this controversial issue of the panels for a minute, because this one, I think it's kind of a joke. And I guess I can say that, right? But part of the issue here is people are saying, well, but the marquee is on at night and solar panels work during the day. Okay,
Well,
so let's get this straight. Here's what happens.
You're
all
kidding,
right?
people don't get this?
People don't get this,
Come
right?
on.
So here's what happens. Solar panels work during the day. True. All right. They generate electricity. You can feed that electricity into the needs of your building, facility, home, whatever. All right.
Back to the grid.
Or if you're not using it all, you put it back in the grid.
Right.
In other words, you slow down, maybe even reverse your own electrical meter. So it doesn't matter when these things happen. They don't have to be related at the same time of day. Right. The point is the Michigan Theater now has solar panels that are contributing energy back to the grid. And the more institutions, homes, companies, campuses, anything like that does this, the better off we're all going to be. So
Less carbon
less
use in terms
carbon,
of coal
so
or
it doesn't
oil
matter.
to generate.
The Michigan Theater is putting power back in the grid, even though one of its big power users is the marquee at night.
And if there
So-
isn't sun for a while, you're
It's-
still drawing from the grid, right?
Correct.
You've got to pretty much have a thick coating of snow for something not to be
get
happening.
in there. Okay.